Right, okay, welcome back everybody to the 48th episode of the My Generation podcast. We are going to be talking to a returning podcast guest today. He came on for the 6th and 15th episode of the My Generation podcast and is sat across me today. It is Connor Jenkins. Welcome back.
Hi.
We have got him back on the show finally. It's been far too long. How have you been?
I've been really good, my man. How about you?
Very
Happy
good.
New Year.
Yeah, Happy
Good
New
times.
Year. I mean, this episode's coming out way after New Year's, so...
They don't know that.
Yeah, it's going to be like closer to Happy Summer, but
Yeah.
Happy New Year to everyone who's listening, and whether it's like June or something.
Yeah,
Sure,
God.
it will.
Wow. 48 episodes.
48.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I mean, you were on the first. You were on 6. Episode 6 was your first one. The first one we talked about was sport and communities. So we focused on your rock climbing. How's that been going?
Really, really good, dude. There's a new centre in Canterbury that's open now, isn't it? So I'm going there like once or twice a week with some friends. Great time. Varsity's coming up soon. That's going to be good. So it's kicking off.
Yeah, and we had you on the 15th episode where you were talking about you were joining a new band. You can now talk about that band. Who is it? What's the music style? What are you doing?
Yes, I will. Okay, so my band is called That Thing You Do. Damn, it's a lot of fun. This will be out way in the future afterwards, but we've just solidified. We played one show before, like proper gig show. And then we've solidified a show with a pop punk band called Rome, who are quite a big deal. And we're supporting those guys, which is going to be, wow.
Amazing. So, and whereabouts is that?
In Margate, a little place called Elsewhere, which is nice. But yeah, no, someone mentioned to somebody a bit higher up in the ranks that we exist. And people liked it. So they were like, cool. And now we've been frantically writing the last few days stuff for that gig. And yeah, I was so excited. It's on the 5th of February.
Amazing. This will be out by then. But at that point, hopefully more of this stuff should have been happening.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that thing you do on social media. I'm sure you can find it.
Yeah.
Easy.
And so you said you've been writing new stuff for it. So new songs.
Yeah. Just yesterday we had a practice. We've been writing a new song, which will be released on an EP when this comes out. So the song is called Go. And do I test my vocal range in that I'm doing backing vocals in this song, and I'm singing higher pitched stuff than the lead singer of the band, so I'm a bit like,
a bit more experimental for the band. Well, we're gonna put a link to that in the description as well, so you can listen. On the podcast today, we do have a local Kent artist on as well, playing some songs today. Their name is Mashville, and we're going to be hearing 2 of their songs here today on the My Generation podcast. Because since Connor's come on, we now feature music on every single episode of the My Generation podcast.
That's awesome, man.
And
congratulations.
It's great. So many amazing local Kent artists. At the point this is coming out, we would have had them on for the past few weeks. It's been amazing. Such great fun. And local Kent music enthusiast, Sammy Bacon. You know Sammy well.
I know Sammy, yeah. He's part of the rock climbing team.
He is indeed.
Yeah.
He is on the My Generation podcast every single week now, doing a 1-minute album recommendation. He's now been pushing it. The one that's coming out in this week's is about 4 minutes, but he's trying to take up as much time as he can. But he always comes out with a brand new album recommendation each and every single week. So stay tuned for that as well.
Is that like current music, or is it like
it's a mix? He's our go-to guy for new albums.
Nice.
He's always trying to consume as much new music as possible.
I like that.
I think last week's was a more of a classic, but you'll have to find out when we reach that point of the episode.
Perfect.
But today, we haven't even introduced the topic we're talking about today.
No.
But we're going to be talking about one of the other angles to your life, because you've got many strings to your bow.
Too many.
And
I'm tired, Max. I'm very tired.
Well, you're coming up to the end of your university experience. And how's that all going before we get into the main topic?
Stressful. I should be working right now, but this is the weirdest form of procrastination. It's like, hey, I'm going to go do a podcast now.
I mean, you are procrastinating, but at the same time, producing great content. So
this is amazing. I love this podcast.
Oh, he's back.
I do listen.
He's far too kind. We have him on, but we'll definitely have you back on again.
I hope so.
Absolutely. But for today, we're talking modelling.
Let's talk payroll first.
Well, I mean, my friends have already tried to convince me on Patreon for the show, so we'll see what direction the podcast goes. We're getting thumbs up from the producer and the live studio audience in the room. But we're talking modelling today. I wanted to first sort of start with how you got into the world of modelling, and because you've got pictures all over your social media from different photographers. How did that all start?
So yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not much of a crazy how it got into it story. So I used to date somebody who was, I believe she was second place Miss Beauty of England, and
Wow.
yeah, that was a long time ago. But yeah, she was actually the start of my, I guess, modeling career. I mean, I still wouldn't class myself as like a proper model, but I'm making enough money to pay the rent, so that's fine by me. um, it's yeah, it started off just a couple of little freebies here and there, just to kind of see, just for a bit of fun, because I had a lot of friends who do that kind of stuff. And then I posted some pictures online, and then I got approached by some other people, and it kind of kept going like that for a while. And I was like, okay, cool. And then people said, oh, you should charge money, you should do this and the other. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll do it. And it split up from there. And now it's like a full-time job. So
Oh, full time.
more or less, yeah,
Amazing.
I'm doing a lot.
Yeah, because when I see all the pictures, it's like there's quite clearly a production value in them as well. It's not just you're sort of showing up. There's costume design that goes into it as well. What sort of the prep that goes into a model shoot for you?
So generally it's like I do a lot of wedding stuff. So it's for like magazines and companies that want to like put together a package deal for like, florists and designers and the rest. So they tend to hire me a lot more than most people. But yeah, they always have a very distinct style they want to go for. So there'll always be people like getting the outfits ready and like changing out of whatever, and doing your hair and makeup. I hate wearing makeup. I hate it, but it has to be done apparently. Yeah, I think the most I've ever had that is I did a shoot for a tie and like suit accessory company, and we went through about 300 different combinations of clothing throughout the day. But it was a case of like I'll be standing there doing the poses, and then like they take a couple of photos. Then someone else would come and change what I'm wearing really quickly and do it again. It was a whole day of that. It was long, but it was alright. It was cool.
Amazing. So that's all happening really fast as well, isn't it? You're sort of being directed like an actor almost.
Yeah, definitely. I hate like I feel like I'm pretty confident in front of a camera with like and talking and doing whatever. I've done a little bit of acting as well on the side, but we'll get to that in a bit. But the one thing I can't do is smile on cue. I hate it. It's like, I can do it naturally, sure, but there's so many photos online where people have been, okay, you can like show your teeth or smile, and I'm just kind of like, it's awful.
It's because you're straining for it, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't know how to do it, like, because you don't think about it when you do it, do you? You just kind of do it. But then when you think about it, and it's like, do you know? It's like, how do you do it? How do you smile?
This is why I exist in the audio sphere.
Yeah, there you go. Got a face for radio.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
You're beautiful. Beautiful
Oh,
human being.
he's fast. Well, I'm no model, but no, really appreciate that. I'm blushing now.
Dude, there is a market for absolutely. That's one thing that bugs me. People say, "Oh, I can't model." There is a market for literally everybody. There's everything you possibly want. So never be afraid to jump into it and give it a go. If someone says you should try it, you should try it, man.
And the demand's now there for you. So when did you start to realize this could become sort of more of a regular thing?
Let me think. So I mean, I was kind of doing it gradually. It started off like once every couple of months. I was just kind of doing it just as a hobby, more or less, and I got paid the first time. That was great. I guess probably about the time people started asking me to actually do stuff like the first time I had like a makeup artist. I guess the first time I was sitting in a chair.
Wow.
And somebody was like doing my hair and doing my makeup, and I didn't have to do it myself. And I was a bit like, wow, this is like, I've got like 5 people paying attention to me right now, setting me up to like appear on camera. It's like a weird, but like I'm not anything crazy and special. Those guys are like the real talent there. I'm just kind of like the guy on camera. The guys doing the makeup and the styling and the designing, I feel like they feel like they don't get enough credit.
There's a lot of talent.
I feel like they feel like they aren't as important as the talent, but they definitely are. Like they need to know that they 100%, and they're like sirs and madams are like, no, just call me Connor. Like don't do that. I'm not your boss or anything like that. I'm just treat me like a human being. Let's have a conversation, let's have a chat. Yeah, get to know each other. Yeah,
it's like when everyone feels like they're on the same level. It's just everything operates better.
Exactly.
And so that's your first experience with a makeup artist. That was
that was the time I was like, oh man, I'm actually like doing this for money, like a job.
And it's the crazy where the demand comes in. When it comes to the sort of variety of shoots you've had, what are some of been the most standout shoots? Because I've seen some of the stuff you've done, and you're doing them all over the place. Like there's the sort of dystopian looking shoot you did. There's stuff where people have like just thrown water at you, I think, that I've seen. And so can you describe maybe some of your most memorable shoots?
Yeah, going back to the dystopian one, that was the first one where I figured, okay, I've got a bit of clout in this like photography modeling world. I'd like to plan something myself. So I got in touch with some friends from back home. One of them her name is Coral Brown. She's like all day, every day. She loves it. She makes her own costumes as the rest. And I figured, hey, she'd be great to like work with because we spoke about doing a shoot together before. She loves making costumes and outfits and stuff. So let's get some together and make this like post-apocalyptic. I don't even know what the enemy of it is, but like I planned it. And I'm like, it's just gonna look cool. It's like Mad Max. But like there might be zombies there. Who knows? We've got guns in the shoot. I don't know what we're shooting at, but there's something there that's not coming after us. But yeah, I think that was probably my favorite one we ever did. It was freezing. It was really cold. It was on the seaside.
What seafront did you shoot that at? Because it feels like a dystopian universe.
Yeah, we scattered for a few places and we figured that we drove past it. We weren't even looking for it, and we saw it and we were like, that place looks like let's shoot there. It was in it's near it's between Ramsgate and Sandwich. I can't remember what it's called exactly. It's along that kind of like stretch of coast. It's quite empty and barren. There's nothing there. There's like an old bridge and lots of like, it looks like it used to be like it looks like it could have been like a car park 100 years ago. It's just kind of overgrown and all flat. So it looked pretty. It fit what we wanted to do, which is cool.
And the color grading really made a big difference because the costumes look great and it really sort of fits the dystopian universe. But then you grade it so it has the sort of orange that the Mad Max.
So I had nothing to do with that. So that would have been a photographer that I hired for it. His name is Dick. I think he goes by DKNG on social media. That was he's a genius. He sent me the original photos and was like, hey, they look really good. I was like, well, they do look really good. Well done. I was ready to post them. He's like, don't post them. He started editing them. And he sent it back to me. And I was like, wow, that is like a movie. That is fantastic. He nailed it. I'd highly recommend working with him. I mean, I want to work with him again. We were talking about maybe doing a Peaky Blinders shoot at some point. So I just love the way he does it. He's a very friendly guy to work with. He knows what he's doing. And
you build together like a network, really.
I've got a long list of people that I can call that I know are good for certain things. Like audio, I'll call you. You know. Yeah, it's just that's probably one of the more memorable ones. I did a shoot with a lovely lady called Jade, who is now a good friend of mine. I think she actually did a shoot for L'Oreal once. That was a cool thing.
Wow.
We did. Have you seen the one where it's like we're in the sea together in Margate?
Yes. Yeah.
Up to like my chest, and it's kind of like it was. I think it was titled as like an engagement shoot, but it just looked cool though. Like there's nothing engagement about it.
That must have been freezing.
It was the middle of summer actually. It was okay, and I was in my hometown, so it's like I kind of know the waters and stuff. It was kind of refreshing. It wasn't like freezing, but it was like chilly.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of effort. That was a long. We were quite far out as well. We were a good like 30-40 meters out, just standing up just up to our chest. But there was a shot the photographer really wanted, where she wanted like us both coming out of the water at the same time. And so we repeatedly kept going underneath the water and coming up, and it just wasn't happening because it was salty water and we didn't know, our eyes were closed. It was awful. So in the end, we ended up. The photographer said, "Oh, can you like the girl like wrap your legs around Connor and he would do all the work?" And I was like, "Okay, that would work." So the photo came out okay, but I didn't think about how heavy it would make the person because it got the weight of the water. So it was like doing 100 squats. It was like you go down and then you lift up, and it took a good like 4 or 5 attempts to do it. But it's stuff like that just makes unique shoots memorable. You know, that's what I really like.
Well, and it's sort of the stuff you don't really realize is going to have to go into it, and you end up just having fun and experimenting.
Yeah.
I've been the photographer on a shoot with a local Kent band. In fact, we had them on the podcast. It's Renegade from Whitstable. They were on. I
saw that. I know a couple of those guys.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Well, I used to go to university with Max a while ago, and I know Gabby from back home, I think. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's crazy how small and connected the music scene in Kent is, and it was really fun to shoot that because we worked with light quite interestingly because I literally just got an ice light, and the first thing I wanted to do was take it on any shoot I could, and we went out and used the really sort of harsh bright colours that it had. They wanted really nice contrast. We used bright reds and purples and greens.
That sounds cool.
When you've been sort of doing modelling work, does it traditionally have like quite big lighting setups, or do they tend to sort of use the natural light?
Some do. I mean, it depends kind of what we're doing. A friend of mine called Mitch, He goes by MJ Taylor Photography. He's a really great guy to work with. But if you can see some of the behind the scenes stuff of how we made the stuff, it's just hilarious. I can't imagine what it looked like as a whole. He did some headshots for me recently. And I changed my style around a bit and got my ears pierced and stuff. So it's like to show photographers what I look like now. We went around to his house, and it's like his housemate holding up like a really tiny board behind me, and like he's like throwing balloons at me and stuff, trying to get these funny photos.
Yeah.
And it was a fun afternoon, and he had the smoke machine from a house party he'd acquired. It was just like
smoke machines are really that sort of look is lovely.
I love it. It's good.
Yeah, I'm going to be shooting a music video soon. I just want to use one for it.
Yeah. Can you say who for?
Renegade from Whitstable.
Oh, so it's that one. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
And in fact, by the time this is out, we'll be in the post-production process of that music video, and so excited to shoot that.
Good.
We're going to be using a TV studio because we're going to be manipulating light quite a lot, and so that's sort of another avenue and thing that I'm getting into.
That's good, man. But, are you directing?
Yes, I'm director.
Nice.
It's going to be so much fun.
I'm excited to see it.
Fun. We've got a couple of cinematographers involved. It's a similar sort of world to this in a way where people don't realize all the behind the scenes stuff that goes into it, sort of booking out studios, booking out all the kit, making sure you're working with the right photographer. Like what you said about working with people and building like a social circle of people you can go to for things. Because I'm guaranteeing I'm going to have you performing in like some sort of film or something I've got coming
I would
up
love
soon.
to. Well, I've started doing this has kind of led into a bit of acting on the side now as well. Like not very much, but I'm definitely I'm not an actor. I'm not saying it now, but people keep booking me for stuff. It started off as a couple of student films, and it got into some other stuff. I was in a music video for a band called Seafret, which are quite big in Scotland apparently. And the production value for that was like, it was like a World War One, like trenches. It was high production value. It was crazy. We went to these trenches for a day and filmed a bunch of stuff. And the final video's got like explosions and tanks, and it's like, wow.
And how does that compare to the photography stuff? What are the big differences?
There's no explosions and tanks. So it kind of roughly works out the same way. So you arrive, you meet the cast and the crew, and everyone's kind of setting up all the crew are setting up their own different things. So you try and talk to them, get to know them where you can. But so obviously with modeling and photography, once something's done, it's done. You can take like 5 photos and get a really good one and be like, yeah, that's great. In regards to the music video shoot, that was like takes and takes and takes of the same thing over and over again, and it was very physical. Lots of running, lots of climbing the trenches, going over the top. Lots of guns. It was the first time I had to fake cry. That was interesting. It didn't make it into the final video, but I tried to cry on camera. That was an interesting one. I feel more comfortable fake crying than I do smiling.
Yeah, that's sort of on the spot. How does that feel for you then? Sort of having to sort of generate those emotions on the spot on camera.
Honestly, like it sounds really cliche, but I do have to practice faces in the mirror and stuff sometimes because I want to know what it looks like, and if it looks like really bad, then how do I work on it? How do I make it look more authentic? I can't really describe. I didn't really try and put my. I couldn't really make myself actually want to cry, but I feel like I could definitely like mimic the faces, if that makes sense, of like crying, just like really tense and like bleh, and looking a bit sad and stuff. But yeah, it's okay. Like I said, I've never had any training to be an actor or anything like that. It's just kind of accidentally fallen into my lap a little bit. I'm very grateful. I feel like I've been given a very fun, fortunate line of work, which I'm very grateful for. But I've never had any formal training or anything in any of that, so some say I don't deserve it. I agree with them. I do not deserve it, but hey, here I am.
If people still want to work with you, then it's clearly something that's working. I saw exactly. You in a student production. You were a judge, and someone was dancing. The name has completely slipped my mind, but that was a really, really great short film.
I put that on my portfolio. That one actually, I liked that. They were great. Actually, Mitch was actually the guy I thought about doing my headshots. He was actually one of the camera guys on that. That was a fun day. That was a good time. That was the second time I'd quote unquote acted. But that was the dancer in that video. I can't remember her name. She was extremely talented. But most of my reactions in that video were real, because it was like, wow, she's a good dancer.
You were watching a performance in front of you. That was sort of made or it was make or break on the dancing, wasn't it? That one.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, like I'm only like a side character in that, but she was like the main. It's really good. I would check it out. If you're gonna plug it, if we get the name of it, I can't remember what it's called, but.
I can't believe the name's gone from my head, but I will put the link for it in the description.
Boom.
Now, we'll be going back to Connor in just a moment to continue our discussion about modelling. But first, I wanted to announce, once again, we're on SoundCloud. So if you're listening to this on YouTube and you want another way to consume the podcast, we're over there on SoundCloud. And if you're listening on SoundCloud, we're also on YouTube. So 2 different ways to listen to the podcast. But now we're going to be going to Sammy Bacon, our local music enthusiast extraordinaire. Every week he recommends an album. We usually only give him 1 minute, but Sammy's been cheeky and gone for 3 or 4 minutes today. So here on the My Generation podcast, we'll now find out what album Sammy recommends for us all this week.
Hi guys, Sammy Bacon here. What's going on? Coming at you with a recommendation from legendary, avant-garde, experimental rock, drone rock band Swans. Swans are a rock and roll outfit from the United States, and today I'm recommending their 7th studio album, White Light from the Mouth of Infinity. Now, White Light from the Mouth of Infinity is slightly a strange departure in the Swans catalogue in terms of that it goes away from that very abrasive, no-wave, gothic stylings in the earlier part of their career and moved towards a more gothic country neo-folk sound. They started exploring on the Burning World. However, this album is miles better than the Burning World. And why it might not be as heavy or as experimental or as intense as something like The Seer or To Be Kind, it is still a fantastic record. And in my mind, the perfect starter album to what is one of my favourite bands. This was actually the first Swans album I listened to and owned. I bought it in a record store in Edinburgh, so I guess I am slightly biased to it in terms I just have that kind of nostalgic attachment to it. But also, it is just a great album. It has a brightness that a lot of other Swans albums don't have, and I don't mean bright in terms of lyrical composition or musically, but I mean production-wise. It's just so bright and feels so rich, and I think that brightness is also mirrored in the album art. The album art for it is beautiful, but also very haunting and disturbing. It's brilliant, so go look that up. But yeah, it's just as powerful as the other Swans' great records. A song like Blind is this fantastic sort of just folk rock ballad. And as the chorus comes in, this wonderfully bright synthesizer line comes in, which beautifully contrasts with Michael Gira's monotoned, droning voice. And a song like Power and Sacrifice has this pounding, repetitious, driving rhythm section, which really gives the track so much energy and drive. And I think, you hear the Swans' nature, especially in the opening track, Better Than You. You hear the garbled sound of a baby before the band smash in, and I think it still shows that Swans-ness to it. White Light from the Mouth of Infinity is sort of a precursor to what Michael Gira would do on the next album, Love of Life, which is sort of the part 2 to White Light, but isn't as good. But also what he would do in his Angels of Light side project, who are another sort of gothic country band. Their first album, I think it's their first album, How Much I Loved You, is a great album. I really recommend you go check that out. If you want to get into Swans but don't know where to start, this is where I'd start. I think it kind of demonstrates everything they can do so well. And if you like this, then go check out albums like The Seer, To Be Kind, The Glowing Man, The Great Annihilator, Leaving Meaning, their latest record. Sammy Bacon, see you next time.
And that was Sammy Bacon. Thank you for that, Sammy. You can tune in every Thursday from 6, not only to hear just my voice, but also Sammy, who will recommend a new album for you to listen to. So once you finish listening to me and Connor talking about modelling, you've got plenty of music to be listening to. But also keeping along the line of music, every week we now feature a local Kent artist. This week it's Mashville. We're featuring songs from their album Another Place. They're originally an American band, but they're based in Kent, mainly in the Folkestone, Ashford and Maidstone areas are where they play. And again, we're playing the songs from their album Another Place. We'll be playing 2 today on the My Generation podcast. And right now we're going to play their song Signs and Bloody Wonders by Mashville.
You came down from the mountain, started laying down the law, and the sculptor and the dancers, well, they told me what they saw. Blood was flowing in the streets, and there was murder in your eyes. They were begging for forgiveness, they were running for their lives. Visions on a lonely hill, voice that sounds like thunder. All you ever offered me were signs of bloody wonders. The fruit has withered on the tree. In those fields they turn to dust. All your dreams they turn to ashes, and your memories to rust. And I've got pockets full of nothing, I got this belly full of hunger, and all you ever offered me were signs of bloody wonders. I went down to the fountain, I saw the water running red. I cupped my hands, I cursed your name, then I drank and swallowed down my shame. Red water running down, water running red. On a lonely hill, in a voice that sounds like thunder. All you ever offered us were signs of bloody wonders. Visions on a lonely hill, and this belly full of hunger. Yeah, all you ever offered us were signs of bloody wonders. For we are tired of traveling, you know that only takes us further. These rebels at the edge of time, they're screaming bloody murder. All you ever offered me were signs of bloody wonders. Yeah, all you ever offered us, signs of bloody wonders, signs of bloody wonders, signs of bloody wonders.
And that was Signs and Bloody Wonders by Mashville here on the My Generation podcast. Do keep listening because we're going to be playing another one of their songs to close this podcast episode. That'll be the song Blue coming later on in the show. We're going to go back to Connor now, but just wanted to say that Mashville's links are all in the description, so if you want to check out and support their work, please go there and listen. Now, going back to Connor, you spoke about what it's like transitioning to through styles? Because you said your hair used to look different. You didn't have ears pierced.
So quick, I change so frequently.
How frequently do you change your style?
Maybe like once a month. Maybe I do change it a lot. I mean, the last time I saw you, I had a full head of hair. Now it's kind of gone. It's just impulse. I get bored so quickly. I just go. Bzz.
And between episodes, I think you had, was it like a mohawk thing?
Probably.
Well? Yeah.
I've had many mohawks.
It was like a blonde one.
Oh yeah. No, that was another impulse decision.
Yeah.
I just shaved the sides of my head, and yeah, it was a blonde mohawk.
You see, I wanted to ask for people considering changing a hairstyle that drastically, because I know you do it so often. I've considered changing mine, but I've had the same hairstyle for probably the last 7 years, and I like it. I've considered changing it, but what would you recommend for someone who's considering changing a hairstyle that drastically as you do?
If you like it, you like it. I mean, I'm a firm believer in, like, we're all going to die someday, limited time on the earth. Just have fun, as long as it doesn't ruin your life or do anything bad or harm others, you do it. It's just a little bit of fun. So, I mean, I whenever I do something like that, I always say, can I, like, look professional if I do it? So obviously I had like the mohawk or whatever before, but like I can like slick it back and it looks kind of like an undercut on the sides, so it's kind of like relatively smart. Ears pierced, I've got, that was a new addition. Like right now I've got like fake earplugs, because they're not stretched out. They're like normal sized ear piercings, but they've got like big thingies on them.
Yeah, because it makes them look bigger than they actually are. So
I'm a liar.
Well, and also if you wanted to then not have them again, you can
exactly
swap.
Yeah, I love the style, but I'm too well. I mean, I'm doing a journalism degree, and that involves being on camera quite a lot. Anyway, like professionally, so I need to make sure I look presentable. But I've also bought like invisible earrings recently. They're called invisible. That's like clear plastic, and they've got like little tiny studs on them, so you can't even see them when they're in. Hopefully, I've not tried them in yet, but yeah, that's pretty much that. So I mean, just do it. Just have fun. If you want to do something, don't think about what anybody else thinks. Just do it. But as long as you can still maintain some level of I'm not gonna say professionalism because I hate that word, but just as long as you don't ruin your life with it, if you're a rock star or like you're about to be a rock star and you want to do that double mohawk thing, you do it. If
well, and plus, even if it's something that can affect what, you can at least have conversations with like the people you're working with, or people in the industry, to be like, is this a good decision? Is this a informed one? Yeah. So you can at least research it. I have along the line of tattoos. I have a friend who's going to be getting sleeves on both sides, on both arms, and he wasn't sure what style he wanted. Originally, he wanted sort of like a tribal look. Mm-hmm. So he put those like temp tattoos on to see how they'd look, and he didn't prefer them to sort of a more traditional, sort of modern sleeve, which has sort of roses and lions on them. And I found it quite interesting, the sort of previewing approach, because if he'd just gone straight for the full thing, he may not have liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that too. Definitely get it done. Just, I mean, like temporary, whatever. Just see what it looks like first. I'm actually booking in a chest tattoo.
Oh wow!
Like a big chest piece, yeah. But I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put it all in like a rough etch or whatever first. Put it, draw it on with pen or something.
And
make sure I like it.
Is that your first tattoo, or have you?
Yeah, I'm going big for my first one.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going real big.
And can we know what's going to be on this tattoo?
Yeah, it's like I mean, it's in like a rough idea, but I found some images for reference. So I'm like the biggest Star Wars fan on the planet. So the centerpiece is going to be like it's going to be like the shape of like a stormtrooper, like one of the old movie ones, but it's like a skull. It's like the skull of a stormtrooper, I guess is the best way to say it. I don't know, but that's like a good mix of my like rock star kind of stuff that I like, plus Star Wars, which is like my first love. So I'm gonna put that together. It's gonna get kind of roses coming up to my shoulders and stuff like that. So it's going to be like this big kind of like chest piece. Originally I wanted it to have wings, but I was like, that's a bit tacky. But yeah, I want to kind of work down to like half sleeves on each arm, and I kind of want to get like the left side of my body done entirely down to my foot.
Wow.
So I like tattoos.
Yeah.
I like tattoos, I like piercings. I had my nose pierced when I first met you. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I do. But, so that's gone.
But yeah, that's that.
Oh, interesting. And it's nice that you're sort of planning it all out as well, so you're making the right decision for you.
Yeah, it's money. I would have gotten tattoos a long time ago if I had more money. But well, me and my friend Ellie and my housemate Morgan, we're gonna get matching Star Wars tattoos just under our arms soon, just like little tiny ones, just as friends. So that'd be cool.
Nice.
I just like being different, I guess.
But and at the moment the hair is it's short. It's the shortest I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I've got like a grade 1 on top and like a skin fade But I literally got it done yesterday. So I buzzed the whole thing around New Year's. And then, now I've got like a nice little, it looks a bit more stylish now, I think. It's got like a nice little skin fade. I recommend Rand's Hairdressing in Canterbury. It's my favourite place to get my hair cut.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Just a little shout out to them.
Yeah, I love those guys. They're friendly too, very friendly.
And does that sort of, in bringing it back to modelling, does that affect the sort of shoots you do as well? Because even though it's a change in appearance, it will suit maybe a different type of project. Yeah,
I will going back to changing it drastically and like impulsively. Is that what impulsively? Yeah. Going back to that, like I will only do it if I've not got like a shoot booked already, because if I show up and I'm not then what they wanted, then it's like, oh, but you. So on my portfolio websites, it's got all of my like stats, size, weight, all my inches and like chest and stuff. So if it's different to that, technically I've lied to them, and because it's like a professional transaction, I don't know how it works exactly, but it's and if I do want to make a change, I'll always ask. If they say no, that's fair enough, because I'm already kind of contracted into that. But yeah, it's the same. There are people that just like hair models. They get paid stupid amounts of money, they just grow their hair really long and then sell their hair. Like their head with the hair on it to like be styled and cut for like hairdressing shops and stuff like that. That's pretty cool stuff. But I would never have the patience to grow my hair out long enough for people to do that. I've kind of gone on a tangent there. What were we on about?
About your sort of change of style and how that influences different jobs. So every time you change your hairstyle, you get a new photo shoot, so you've got another.
I do try to, yeah. I mean, one, it's nice to have a range of photos on my portfolio anyway. But yeah, generally every time I get something new done that's noticeable, I will get new photos, just so people that are booking me can see how recent I am. I'm doing a Kurt Cobain themed shoot in a couple of weeks.
Interesting.
Yeah, but like they booked me and I said, I don't look anything like Kurt Cobain. I've got like brown hair, brown eyes, and they were like, yeah, but it's like your personality for this one that we liked. I was like, that's great, thank you for saying that, but people looking at the photo won't see that, which is a shame. I mean, like I'm glad they still want me to do it, which I'm grateful for. I mean, I've also currently got like a really short brown haircut, so. But it'll be fun. But I mean, as long as people want it, then I'm gonna keep doing it. And generally in the world of modeling too, unless you're doing like formal wedding stuff or that sort of thing, people generally like stuff that stands out, which is cool. If you look at front pages of like portfolio websites, it's just all the biggest and best, craziest stuff. You're like massive jack dudes with like one arm and stuff, and it's like, damn, that's awesome. They get the coolest photos. I don't know. Yeah, well, it's also nice because you've got that such variety that if maybe someone wanted you to go back to a hairstyle for a specific reason, you could do that. Yeah, definitely. It's proven. I feel like I can do a good amount of styles. I feel like I've got a good like repertoire. Range. That's good. I think I just wear whatever, really. I mean, like, I always wear like what I want to wear every day, but then I get to a shoot and then all of a sudden I'll be like suited up all nice and fancy and with pocket squares and stuff, and then I'll go back to the changing room at the end of the day and put my leather jacket back on, just be like tank top, Blink-182 shirt, Oh, so you think you dress a lot more casually compared to when it comes to shoots? You think there's a massive difference between them then? Definitely, yeah. I mean, I always just dress how I want to dress, like just casually, right? I mean, like, right now I'm actually in last night's clothes, if I'm being completely honest with you. I'm not like a fashion person. I'm just kind of like clothes are cool. I like that. I'm going to buy it. But yeah, so I'll arrive to a shoot and they'll have an outfit for me and it'll just be like whatever, for the shoot. I've done some latex shoots. I've done some I've been on magazine front covers for weddings, so it's got a big range, stuff with balloons, guns, fake props and stuff. I've done a lot of cool stuff. It's a good time. And no one would know from the clothes because we're in the radio sphere. No one has to know that. Absolutely. I've got like a stain here. Look, don't know what it is, but hey, yep. I was in speaking of like people I know and stuff. So the Libertines, Pete Doherty. I was at that hotel they opened last night for my friend's birthday party. That was a lot of fun. Just a little plug in there. I don't know. Yeah. Have you heard about the hotel? Or? No, I haven't. Tell me. Okay, yeah. So I think I'm not sure if it's Pete Doherty and Carl Barat, the two singers, but they've I think one of them lives there as well. they've opened up a hotel in Cliftonville in Margate. And it's a recording studio and a bar and a hotel, and it's awesome. It's great, and we got to go into one of the VIP rooms last night. I checked out the recording studio after a few drinks. It was awesome. It's a really cool place to go.
Nice.
I want to do a photo shoot in there.
And it's nice. On your doorstep, so the music stuff and photography.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff going on in there. So it's a very like visually awesome place.
Well, sort of Margate and Folkestone, I think, are both sort of growing massively in the music scene, aren't they? And forming their own identities as places.
Definitely. I mean, I grew up heavily in the Margate music scene, like metal shows, underground and stuff like that. But it's on the up. Every time I go back to Margate, it's different and it's better and it's bigger. I saw like 2 new pubs and clubs yesterday that I didn't even know existed when I went home. You know, it was crazy. I mean, obviously I live here now, but it's just so strange going back to somewhere that you're so familiar with, knowing that it's just not that anymore. I mean, I must have moved away like 3-4 years ago now, so it's crazy. You know, where occasionally I go back, it's just miles different. But
yeah, Margate's a different place. I get that when I go back home. But I mean, I was in sort of a market village, so it's all, there's a lot that's quite similar still.
Yeah.
Whereas, I imagine you go back and it's like it's a different world.
It really is. Yeah, I mean, there's like new coffee shops and stuff, like, you know, day, night, whatever. It's the same layout of place, but it's quick turnaround, I think, for the businesses and buildings, and which is great, you know, because I mean, more often than not now, nothing's shutting down and reopening, just new stuff's just opening. So it's getting bigger, it's getting better, you know, which makes me happy to see. Yeah, because it's home, you know, it's my little home.
And you've got Canterbury here, which is where you live now, but you can always go back home, and it's on the up.
Exactly. It's
nice,
a beautiful place, really is.
And that's just a plug for the place of Margate.
Yeah, just Margate in general. Margate's cool. Good for photos.
Yeah, well, I imagine a lot of your shoots probably started off in Margate, didn't they?
Yeah, they did actually. Some of my earliest ones just along the seafront. It's very Instagram friendly place, especially in the summer. The sun goes down over the water and the sea. You know, it's really nice.
Yeah.
Most of my modelling jobs came from Margate, and then I just kind of, it ranges now from travelling to London and the rest. So it's a big. It does require a lot of traveling sometimes.
Yeah,
like I've got friends that travel the whole world to do shoots, and it's like I couldn't do that. Not right now, anyway. I'll maybe someday, but yeah, they get paid like £5,000 up front, and you know, it's crazy.
Well, my next question to Connor will be advice for people getting into modelling, but I wanted to first say that if you that's the microphone. Yeah, we're using mic arms now. New setup. We are on Facebook, and you can contact the Facebook page at the My Generation Podcast if you've got something to say about the subject we've been talking about. If you do, please get in touch. We can bring all your comments to Connor as he spills his coffee.
You didn't see that?
All over the table.
You can't prove anything. There's no cameras.
Well, this is definitely making it in. Nice white tables, and he's just spilled his coffee. Amazing. So yeah. Anyway, straight back into the subject. So, Connor, what would you recommend for people who are just starting out in modelling, especially diving more into the local impact? What you would do if you're in the area of Kent and you're interested? I
would say there's 2 websites to check out. One of them is called Purple Port. So that's the colour purple port.com, and the other one is called Star Now. You can Google both of them and they'll come up straight away. It's a great place to like just put some photos of yourself on there, and then people are always looking for like new models just for anything really, whether it's just like tester shoots to like practice with a new camera or like paid stuff they think you're good for. And that's a great place to start out. Never ever, if something's agreed, you are under no obligation to change any of it. If it's written down in writing, you know, there's absolutely nothing to say that you shouldn't do what you feel comfortable with. Never do anything you're uncomfortable with, ever. I've made that mistake once or twice, and I've regretted it severely. But yeah, take it from me, you don't want that. If you are getting paid for it, then you're even more of a contract to like stand your ground, you know. Just be safe, you know. If you there's nothing wrong with bringing a chaperone. If you don't know somebody or you're unfamiliar with the area or anything like that, it's literally the same as meeting somebody online you've met before. Just think of it like that, you know. Just because they're a photographer doesn't mean they know what they're doing and or are a nice person. But hey, that's just me scaring people.
That's great advice, because that's sort of the other side of it. We've talked a lot about the really, really great side of it, but then there is that whole staying safe.
Definitely.
And making sure you're not making drastic decisions that may be, influencing your life in a way you haven't thought about. So
I've turned down big money shoots because I want like my future career to be saved. Just because something is worth a few grand now, that could ruin like a career which is worth hundreds of thousands of pounds, So
yeah. And for different people, that will depend whether they want to take that shoot or not. So
exactly.
Good advice.
Yeah.
And Connor, if people have questions about that, can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I think I've said this every time I come on the podcast now. My phone is always on. Hit me up on, I think my username's on everything. It's just Connor D Jenkins, D for David. Find me, ask me questions, please. I'd love to. I'd love to help out.
And we'll put Connor's website link in the description as well. So if you want to hire him for anything, maybe you're the cameraman.
Maybe
you're the camera person listening to this, and you want Connor involved in your stuff. Then do get in touch. His website link's there.
Definitely, that sounds great. Thank you, Max.
Absolutely no problem at all. Now moving seamlessly on, we're going to just be moving on to the future of the podcast, teasing a few more of the topics we've got coming up. Obviously, this is episode 48, which means we are getting very, very close to the 1 year anniversary of the show. Next week on the show will be my sister. She's coming on. We've already recorded that episode. Really great chat. We talked about English literature. She's a literature student, and we're talking about why it's cool in the modern day, why you need to be reading books.
Is it cool to read books?
According to her.
If you're an absolute nerd.
I'll make sure she hears that.
I don't mean it. I'm joking.
Well, you have to tell it to her. Sorry. Next, after that, we've got Dan Vince. He's going to be talking about film photography. So he does, as a hobby, 35mm film photography, and we're going to be diving into that. We previously had Emma come on the show, Emma Cusson. She was on the 7th episode of the show talking about film photography, and Dan's going to have a slightly longer conversation as well with us about it. Emma will also be back on the podcast talking about poetry in the future soon. But to celebrate the 1 year anniversary of the show, we just have to have Daniel Inwood back on every 13 episodes. He was the guest on the very first episode of the My Generation podcast. So it just feels right that episode 52 we return to him and reflect on the past year of podcast content. That will be out at the very end of May. And then moving into a brand new year of My Generation podcast, we're still talking to more creators. Obviously, we've spoken with Connor today about his modelling, but we're going to be talking to someone who's more behind the camera. Film director Owen Laws releasing a short film, Oddity. It may already be out by the time you're listening to this, but we're going to be having him on the podcast talking about what it was like to make that film. So if you want to know what it's like making a short film, that'll be the episode for you, coming out in a couple of months' time. So excited with all the new stuff that's coming up on the show very, very soon. Now, before we go back to Connor, I just would like to move into the next song by Mashville. Just to remind you, they're an originally American band. They're now based in Kent, around the Maidstone, Ashford, Folkestone area. We've been playing some of their songs from their album, Another Place. And right now here on the My Generation podcast, their song, Blue.
I was alone and I needed someone. I was alone and I needed you. It's been so long, woman, please don't you run down to a place with the shades of blue. I'm like a ball and I gain momentum. I'm like a ball, to the edge I go. These ones so dear, well, there's times I hurt them. These ones so dear, could I let them go? No, no. No, no. commotion. Days go past as we twist and shout. I operate here beyond emotion. Let it in and we cry it out, my love. My love. My love. My love. Alone and I needed someone. I was alone and I needed you. It's been so long, woman, please don't you run down to a place with the shades of blue.
And that was Blue from the album Another Place by Mashville. Now, just returning to Connor to wrap up this week's episode of the podcast. Just before that, there are some future topics we want to talk to people about. So we've got Emma and Alex on the podcast talking about poetry and literature. But if you've got something you want to share as well, it's a subject I'm super interested in. So if you're between the ages of 18 and 35 and live in Kent, please get in touch about that. Would love to have a deeper conversation as well about what your writing purpose is. Why do you write? Would really love to have that conversation. But going back to Connor. Connor, what do you think you've learned by talking about modelling on today's episode of the podcast?
It's just nice to know that people are still interested in it, to be honest. You know, it's nice to be able to give a bit of advice in it. You know, I mean, once again, don't take my word as gospel. I'm by no means, amazing in this industry. I'm just kind of there. But it's, it is something I do for a living, and it's something that can be unsafe and dangerous. So if anything is taken away from this podcast, it's just that I want everybody to be safe, whether you're a photographer or a model. I mean, it isn't just photographers. For instance, if you're a photographer and you get approached by a model saying, "Can you come meet me here to discuss this?" It goes the other way as well. Anybody can always be someone they are not. It's all online, isn't it? It's just the internet and how all that works, and it's the same for everyone. Everyone's just people. Everyone's just working, trying to get their way in the world.
Yeah, well, I hope this episode of the podcast is, if you were even vaguely interested in modelling, this has maybe pushed you in the direction to, go and do it. No, but we'll definitely be having, as Connor tries to clean up earlier's mess, the coffee is now, no, it's still not clean. There we go. We'll definitely be having Connor in some of the stuff that I'm producing. This will have. I mean, we're recording this a little bit far in advance, but a radio drama that I made, it will already be out, which feels weird because I haven't recorded it yet. But all the pieces are in place. It should be released before this podcast comes out. It's called Once Said. I'll put. You'll be able to find that on the My Generation podcast page. But all future projects will definitely be having Connor in the acting considerations.
I'd love to. Thank you, Max. I appreciate that.
And we'll be having him back on the show very, very soon. Hopefully not such a large gap this time as well. No. 15 to 48. Is
that really what it was?
Yeah, you would.
Wow.
Yeah, 6, 15, and now 48. It's
going back to number 15 very quickly, actually. They released a new single, my old band, the other day.
Yes, and we're playing it on the show.
Oh,
is it Hindsight?
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
I want to make it very clear now that I actually wrote the drums for that, and then I quit. But no one's acknowledged that, so...
I've been in touch with the band actually before you arrived, and they've just sent me over the music. So at some point on the podcast, check all relevant social medias.
Yeah.
But Scrungy Bobbins, their song Hindsight is appearing on the My Generation podcast.
It's a good tune. It's a good single. I like it.
Yeah, it may have already appeared.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, or it may be appearing in the future. Yeah. So check all links if you want to hear that, because they're lovely people as well. Your old band and your new one as well. And their music is also always welcome on the show.
Yeah, can't wait. As soon as you'll be first priority when we record some stuff. So after this, I might show you some stuff we recorded on my phone, nice and easy. But
yeah, and that's just a tease for what's to come.
Oh yeah.
Well, Connor, what are we going to talk to you next time on the show? Tell the people.
What about like nerdy stuff, like
let's talk nerdy stuff.
Board games and video games.
Yeah, what board games? We've talked video games, so that's board games.
Well, I'm not really a board game. But I'm currently designing a new Dungeons and Dragons character. I bought some new dice today.
So next time Connor's on the show, we're talking Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That's the next one. It is. And we'll have to get a photographer in.
Yeah, I'd love to. That'd be good. Hey, why don't you just like play a bit?
Oh, absolutely. What, on the show?
Yeah, design like a hot 20-minute campaign.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Next time Connor's on the show, we're going to play Dungeons and Dragons
that sounds
on the
amazing.
podcast.
Let's do it. I'm excited.
That's going to be really fun, because I tried designing a character once and I got really confused. And then I gave up.
It's a good time.
But okay, next time Connor's on the show, I have no idea when the episode will be out, but in the future.
Sounds a lot of fun.
Definitely within the next 50 episodes. But thank you very much for coming on the show, Connor.
Thank you for having me, man. It's always a pleasure.
Well, and we're definitely having him back on as discussed. Thank you all very much for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. Do check out Mashville, That Thing You Do, Connor's modelling links. The description for this episode is going to be just absolutely full. You've got a lot of content to listen to. And also the timestamp for if you want to re-listen to Sammy's music recommendations. So if you want to go straight back to that, you can go straight there. Thanks once again to Sammy for doing this every single Thursday. He listens to a lot of music. That's a lot of music to listen to, an album a week. And obviously, you know Sammy from rock climbing.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I really like him.
Yeah, and not only can you hear Sammy every week, but you'll be hearing Connor very soon, Dungeons and Dragons.
Hope so.
Thank you very much for listening to this week's episode of the My Generation podcast, and we'll tune in with you next Thursday for the next episode of the My Generation podcast.